This thank you to our panelists, including everyone. We see you all. So we're going to do a really we're going to try to do a very quick transition of our next panel, and that is moderated by Jay. And we'll have about 30 minutes for this one too, if that's okay. And please, Jay Douglas, Tyler, Dr. Van Biggeby, and Bentley, please join us on stage. And yeah, let's give them a round of applause. Okay, quick change of plans. A couple of our panelists are transitioning, so about 2 to 3 minutes. If maybe grab some water and snack, but please come back because they really prepared themselves and are ready to share their wisdom with all of us. Thank you. So it's going to be out. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, we have. Oh, okay. So, yes, and this is Eric. Eric's our new Yes, yes, yes. They're setting us up. Okay, that's it's like a little. Well, you need to go. Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. That's what Jasmine does. She's like, yeah, it's smart. Okay, Tina's like, that was that. Actually, I asked her. No, she was coming back. It's like, I'm just going to tell her. I text her. Yeah. I'll see you later. You can just see that. Yeah, that's what she says. I don't know. I'm gonna trust what she says to.
Hey Danny, how are you? I'm wonderful. How long are you going to be here in this room?
Until it's over, probably.
Until it's over? Tina is MIA and she left her bag. Could
And
I
she told
leave
me
it?
to leave it. Okay.
But that don't feel right. So
Yeah, you can leave it when
just close to you somewhere.
Yeah.
Don't fight for it or anything. Just let them take it. But
Thank you. No problem. It looks like I don't know, and I'm like, that's what she said. Yeah, I'll text her and let her know I got it. Thank you.
thank you. Sorry.
No, you good.
It's on. Hello, everyone. Oh my gosh. Okay, you all. I'm so excited. There's some changes, some movements, some things were going around, but that's okay because still we rise. Amen. 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 So I'm so happy today to be able to host this panel, which is about youth engagement, youth strategy, everything that has to deal with the babies, because let the babies breathe. And so I will go ahead and allow everyone to be able to introduce themselves. Everyone has such an impressive bio, focusing anywhere from cultural strategy, political strategy, movement, mobilizing spaces. And so I will allow them to introduce themselves because I cannot do it. And I will also introduce myself. Hi everyone, my name is Jay Jones. I currently am a recent graduate from Howard University. Graduate from Howard University, where I served as the 64th Howard University Student Association Executive President. I was our first ever woman of trans experience to be able to hold the position of any historically Black college or university, and I'm so excited to be helping out with National Trans Visibility March as one of our directors of strategy. So I will go on ahead and pass it on down to the left and allow you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. Hello. My name is Jay Douglas. I'm a 21-year-old activist, commentator, baddie. And, you know, I really love to do public speaking. And I'm really excited to be here. I am a strategy director for the National Trans Visibility March, as well as the administrative assistant to Capital T. And that is a trans-led nonprofit in the capital city of Tallahassee, Florida, where we own and operate 2 transgender safe homes for our community. So I'm a big advocate for housing justice, for the youth, of course, and our entire trans community. So I'm excited to be here and with all of these beautiful panelists, and let's have a good conversation.
Yeah. Hey y'all, my name is Stephanie Hutchins. I use they, them pronouns. I'm the Georgia State Director of the Human Rights Campaign, and I am Asian American, both ethnically and politically, labor organizer, strategist, and just really happy to be here. Yeah, let's get it going.
Hi everyone, my name is Tyler Hack. I'm the Executive Director of Christopher Street Project.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. We are a new organization, a 501c4 PAC focused on electing champions for the trans community and lobbying members of Congress to make sure that they actually represent the folks that they were elected to lead for. So we do a lot of work lobbying in the halls of Congress, talking to our representatives about trans rights, the attacks on trans rights, and we do a lot of work in our elections, making sure that we feel represented and have accountable leaders. We're looking forward to talking about exactly how we do that and how we involve more young trans folks in the process.
Hey everyone. Hey. My name is Dr. Van Bailey. I use they, them, their pronouns. That's right. And I am the family resource manager at Campaign for Southern Equality, where I specifically work with the Trans Youth Emergency Project. We have distributed over $650,000 to trans youth and their families across the country who are in banned states. We originally started in the South, but we expanded to 27 states to ensure that youth can get access to healthcare in different states that it is lawful to do so. We've been able to help out over 1,100 families and plan to continue to do so. So I'm excited to continue to talk to you all about, specifically how we work with families to ensure that young people can get life-saving and necessary healthcare that they need. Yes, yes. Okay, so before I get started, I just need to know who in the back, who has the time again? Who's got all right, I see you, we see each other. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. So I'm going to try to keep us on track as best as possible. Time has never been my friend. Y'all should have seen it this morning. I was one of the last people to get there. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna do 2 questions for everyone. And then we are gonna try and open it up for Q&A for everyone to be able to answer, okay? So the first thing I kind of wanted to talk to everybody about is many of you all are involved in the culture, the political space, the movement space. I mean, it's everywhere from a youth perspective. And I think the most important thing people want to know, especially right now, is what is the thing that organizations should be focusing on for trans youth. And when I say youth, I know that could be a very large place. And so people, young adults, so age 18 to 24, and then people also age 18 down to, we'll say, below. And so anywhere from there all the way up to 24, what are the priorities? What are the things that organizations should be placing a lot of their eggs in when it comes down to their baskets?
I think that youth stories are so powerful, and they're so transformative to people. A lot of people can empathize with a young person just trying to do their best, figure it out, swim as best they can. And so I think it's a priority for organizations to focus on equity when they are considering utilizing these youth voices, these youth stories. So often are we tokenized as young people and taken advantage of because we have a good story or we're effective or we can sway a heart or two. But so little are we actually properly compensated or taken care of. And so I think equity is extremely important. And another thing I would say that's important for organizations to consider when utilizing youth voices is proper visibility. I think a lot of times, reporters do this too. Organizations do it as well. They focus on the framing of it all, and the optics, and they want you to be the youth who has this story and not necessarily the youth you are. And so I don't want to be pigeonholed into being somebody that I'm not, dimming myself down or changing how I narrate my experience for an organization to treat me good. So I think both of those things are extremely important for organizations to consider when utilizing these voices.
The only thing that I'll add on to that, because equity is the most important part of this process, a part of equity is I wish that organizations would bring in young and trans voices earlier on in the process of decision making so that there aren't folks who don't have the experience making decisions on strategy, when we tell the story, how we tell the story, and where it goes. So I think that is a perennial issue, not just across movement organizations, is that folks want the youth stories, they want youth leadership, but they don't want our decisions, they don't want our opinions, they don't want our strategy. And so not only is fair compensation and making sure that there's equity in how these stories are decided upon and who gets to tell their story, it's also, we should be a part of the strategy and how this is building. Because narrative shift and power building are the two most important things that we can do right now. Because the country needs to see our community as human beings, and they need to see us as a full human being with a full spectrum of human experiences. And we need power to be able to make the changes that we seek. And what worked in 2000 is not working in 2025.
I think that's exactly right. You know, there's a big difference between having a young person in the room just because they're young and actually valuing their experience and treating them with the respect that they can actually lead. You know, we see up here with these amazing young leaders that young people can lead and be involved in these rooms, in the rooms where it happens. We see with folks like Emma Curtis, shout out, Zoe Zephyr, Danica Rome. Trans people can run for office and win and actually be effective legislators. Not even just when it comes to trans issues, but when it comes to a whole spectrum of needs that people have. So it's really important that we value the experiences of trans people and realize that they are there more to do more than just be a young voice in this room. People can actually lead, people can be strategic, you know, it's just really important that we get that perspective and that we value it. When people are involved in those initial conversations about the framework of an organization or the strategy behind, you know, whatever it may be, a lobbying effort, it really can change the trajectory of who is included in that, because then young people from across the country, and all, even beyond the trans community, see themselves represented in that group and feel welcome. And the reality is right now we need to involve more young people in politics, because if they don't do politics, politics will do them. And there's nothing more important than that right now.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I'll just add, you know, one of the things that I am most interested in when working with young people are thinking about the roadblocks in which they often encounter, and that's the adults in their lives. And, you know, for me, I think it's really important for, particularly in the work that we're doing with the Trans Youth Emergency Project, is that we're working directly with families. And working directly with parents and caregivers in trans young people's lives. And oftentimes when I'm talking to them, I'm like, you're making this issue about your child. And what we're really discovering is that it's about you. And it's, for me, really important to be working with the adults that are working with young people, so they can understand truly how empowerment works and to understand how they're actually could be causing harm in young people's lives. And so I think it's really important for us to be working with organizations like PFLAG, be working with organizations that are specifically working with parents and other caregivers in young people's lives, because we need to ensure that young people have bodily autonomy and being able to teach people what that is. And so for me, in centering youth, I think it's really critical for me to just be working with those adults to understand, get out the way, right? And to also be able to provide the resources and the money, you know, for young people to be able to kind of lead the way when it comes to their own healthcare and things like that.
So my next question, and this will be my last official question to you all, is, for a lot of people especially, we start in this movement or we get into this movement a lot of times when we are younger, whether that be in an academic collegiate space, whether that be you are in the movement space, but typically a lot of times from the youth perspective, you're juggling a lot. You're trying to juggle, whether that be graduating college, you're trying to juggle being officially a grown up, an adult. And I think one of the things that we don't ever talk about enough is burnout, and burnout amongst young people. And so I want to kind of pose that question to everyone. It's a two-parter. And so basically the first part is I really want to ask everyone, how are we or how should organizations be maintaining and keeping younger people from burning out? And then the second part is about your organizations, which is what do you need in support from people so that you are not having to burn out in your organization, and it can stay in support and be continuously in support because one thing we just talked about you all, they said they need some money, so keep that in mind. Should we start from the bottom, make our way go?
Sure.
Bottom,
Sure.
make our way back.
I love talking about burnout. The boy is tired. So, I think the kind of critical nature of what we need right now in Campaign for Southern Equality is not just, money. Yeah, money would be great. Because for us, it's really about trying to get those grants to our families. We provide $500 grants to families, and you can get it awarded on a quarterly basis to ensure that you can get to your appointments in a lawful state, right? What people don't understand is when people are trying to access care and they are in a banned state, it is very expensive on the families, not just when it comes to medication and things like that, but people have to get plane tickets, they have to get overnight stays. And not everybody has maybe an environment in which they can say, oh, I'm gonna stay with a family member or whatever, right? And particularly when we expanded out in the South, now we're working with families who are in states like, Montana and other places like that, where they are definitely traveling a lot farther to get access to care. And so for us, the money is definitely very helpful. But I think also, for us, when we're thinking about burnout, it's about trying to build more political capacity for us to do the work that we need to do in the South. And so what that means for us is not just funding, but we need people to help us out when it comes to, we opened up a resource center in Asheville after the hurricane hit. And so one of the things that we're trying to do is create more resource center hubs to be able to get people the things that they need. So for us, the money and the people power is going to be amazing. And also for people to also just get the word out about the Trans Youth Emergency Project. A lot of people don't know about it. And so for me, I think it's really important for people to have an understanding of what it is. And that's when we put money in people's pockets. And we also are able to provide resources as it relates to information to providers and things like that. So with the burnout question, I think, I am a big proponent around transparency when it comes to breaks. Being able to check in with people to say, do you need time off? You know, those questions aren't really something that just comes up. And I do believe, when we having these one-on-ones and we're having these check-ins in our organizations and all that, and you're actually not checking in on the humanity of the person, that's a problem. And so, I believe that we should be doing a lot more of that and allowing for more space for people to be their full and authentic selves. And that also includes rest. And we need that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to answer the burnout piece of it first, I think the hardest part for so many trans young people is actually just getting into the rooms. Sometimes it takes so much energy to get your foot in the door that when you actually have your foot in the door, you don't have energy left to do the work. So actually welcoming trans young people into those rooms, into those strategic discussions is so important and really helps with that first piece of it. I will say, this question is so tricky because all of us, I believe all of us in this room do this work because we feel the need to do it, not because it's fun particularly. It's not. But I think it's really important that we lean into that piece and that drive in this moment and remember why we are doing what we're doing. And keep pushing, and at the same time balancing that with being able to sustain ourselves and making sure that we understand that what is best for this movement is for all of us to stay healthy and strong and be able to keep working for a long time. In terms of what we need, I think it's really critical to have the resources to get trans people, trans young people and trans people of all ages in rooms with their representatives, actually talking about the issues that affect them. The fact of the matter is, we have had meetings on the Hill with people, with members who say, I've never met a trans person. And that's not acceptable. In this moment, that is not acceptable. And people need to understand that trans people are everywhere. So being able to connect people to their representatives is so important. Having folks reach out to their representatives, contact us and get in touch with their representatives so we can set up a meeting so that people can hear about the needs of the folks that they represent is so important. And then having the resources to actually elect a new generation of champions who will stand up for trans rights. And that doesn't always mean, you know, members of the LGBTQ plus community. Sometimes that can be really, really, really strong allies who show up day after day and do the work and listen and help us lead, but making sure that they know that the trans community has their back in these elections is so important. So I would love for all of you to support Christopher Street Project in one way or another. If you have any folks who are interested in getting involved in the political process, regardless of how much they've done, even if they've never knocked a door in their life, we love to talk to folks about that. And would love to invite folks to an event we have tonight, just right out those doors with Congresswoman Sarah McBride, Congressman Maxwell Frost, and State Senator Danica Roem. It's give what you can. If you can give $5, $10, $25, more than that, it makes all the difference. But would love to see any of you there to talk about the fight ahead and how we actually win in the halls of Congress.
Thank you for that. So I have a three-part answer. I think our approach to reduce burnout is to decolonize our practice as organizers, stop union investing as nonprofits, and lean into the chorus theory of organizing. So what I mean by that is I think as, I say we as in someone who works at HRC and understands our complicated history and what we're trying to do now. And also just queer movement organizations, legacy organizations, period. I think that in the work to professionalize and sustain the work and sustain our institutions, there have been missteps in how we approach it. So there's a need to decolonize our mindset, and instead of hitting KPIs and treating people like numbers and just trying to go for quantity, this perfectionist mindset, aligning ourselves with our donors rather than our people, like that kind of work is what drains organizers, and we feel like we are just cogs in a machine to fulfill a grant request. And so I think there's one need to decolonize the way that we build power and return to the actual roots of grassroots theory and organizing that centers direct care, that centers whole personhood, that centers a coalition mindset rather than an individualist Western mindset. I think there's that one piece. On the other piece, when it comes to union busting, I think it's despicable that so many organizations that claim to care about working people union bust in their own organization. And so our people in every single job, every single position deserves a union contract. Unless you're management, then no. But union contracts are the way that we can protect our workers, because people who work at these movement organizations are workers. These union contracts are the way that we can protect the organization from itself, and make sure that the working people that power the organization are protected from exploitation and burnout. That's truly that's not a silver bullet, but it's one of the strongest ways that we can protect people so that we can fight for generous vacation time, adequate sick time, adequate paid leave, all those things that are built in to real, actual, sustainable jobs that make sure that people can stay in this work for a very long time. And then on the other hand, I say the chorus theory of organizing, and that's kind of baked into all of this. Is so my mentor in St. Fudd, she founded the New Georgia Project with Stacey Abrams. She taught me this idea that is really well known in Georgia and the South. That the way that we should approach organizing should be that all of our work hinges on the success of one individual person, and that you have to keep working. And if you stop working, then everything stops. We should think about organizing as a chorus, right? Choruses can sustain a note for a long amount of time because people take staggered breaths. People take staggered rests. And so if you need rest, take it. And someone else can carry on the torch. So the work doesn't stop just because you need a break. And I think that taking our selfishness out of organizing and taking our ego out of organizing and focusing on the collective nature of what it actually is really going to help us with burnout.
Yeah, definitely clap for that one. Yeah. It's an interesting question because I can't sit on this stage and act like I am somebody who doesn't work until she drops. I frontline for other people. You know, I frontline for myself, and I want to be visible, and I want to be heard, and you know, accepted, and I want to make change. But I'm really frontlining for the men and women that stay in our safe homes in Tallahassee, Florida. These are people just like myself, because I stay in the safe house in Tallahassee, Florida. These are people just like myself who are unable to access their health care, who are discriminated against and can't find jobs, who then will have to find legal representation, but might face issues. There are so many barriers for people, especially in the South. And burnout it's a good point. It's something to consider. It's really people power. People power is a solution. That's certainly a need. It's just my executive director and I, who, you know, work to make sure that the lights stay on and people don't go hungry. So I think you have to obviously rest. You have to consider yourself, and you have to take the time to nurture and pour into yourself just as much as you pour into other people, to ensure the longevity of your practice, you know, to ensure that you can sustain the note of, so, you know, I lost the metaphor, but you can sustain helping folks for a long time. If you burn out, you'll burn out and you'll be ash. And then where will you be when somebody needs you? You know, we are all, somebody said it earlier, we all have a superpower. And so for us to be able to save as many people as we can, sometimes we do have to take a break. But what I would need, you know, from an organization standpoint, money makes the world go round. I mean, I'm just gonna say what it is, right? Money makes the world go round. I pull my hair out trying to think of ways to, you know, find opportunities to be visible, to meet people, to shake hands, to hopefully, fingers crossed, get them to believe in the dream that's been working and running for 3 years. So you just do what you can. It's not specific, but you really just do what you can. The fight is much bigger than me. It's much bigger than one individual. So when there is such a great need, when the need is your community, you buck up. You know, you pull up your boots and you go to work. And I I don't practice rest. I'm sorry. I really don't. I'm tired as hell up here. You know, I'm gonna keep it a buck. That's what I do. But it's important. I preach rest. I promise you I do. Because it really is important. Yeah.
You're not the only one.
Okay. I know that's right.
They just had to make
But
it.
that's okay. Okay, so I saw the markers in the back. I said, we see each other, y'all, we see each other. So, I do want to leave room. If there is any questions or anything that you all want to ask, there's a mic right here. I do want to ask our panelists though, for any questions that do get answered, if we keep it to like 30 seconds, like real rapid, real hot, real quick, fast, in a hurry. I do see someone, yes. Okay.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing today? The weather is gorgeous.
Yeah. Not even making everybody look, no. All right, so, hi, I want to first and foremost say thank you to the panelists for being our future. You all have very bright minds, you all are very informational. And it's clear that you're dedicated and passionate about your work, so I want to say that first. Secondly, I want to talk about something, and I noticed that you are all much like me. When I started this work a long time ago, I've been in advocacy for 18 years, and it is so important that you understand and learn the word boundaries. All of you are hard workers, and none of you flinched when we started talking about burnout, and that's a concern for me as somebody who mentors you. You are so passionate about the work, you forget that if you stop working, then the work really stops. If you take a rest is something that allows you to re-energize, to refill your cup. And I really hope that at the end of this, after this conversation, when you go home tonight or back to your hotel room, an hour a day, guys, an hour. There's 24 hours in a day. An hour will not kill you. You can break it up into 4 15 minutes. You can break it up into 2 half hours. Please take time for yourself and make sure that you're enjoying your life and enjoying the good things that are coming from the work that you're doing. If you grow a farm full of fruit and you never enjoy the fruits of your labor, you are not doing the work right, okay? It doesn't matter how good your intention is or how great your work is, how much of a legacy you leave behind if you don't get to enjoy it. And joy does not come at liberation. Joy is constant. Trans joy is constant. So please do not look for liberation to find your joy, okay? Aside from that, I did want to ask a question. I love the youth, I do. And so my question for the panel is that in the face of all the adversity that's going on, personally, put your work aside, tell me how you are finding joy in this time. Because right now, people need to hear about your joy. We need to hear about your story. So if you could take a moment, take a deep breath for me and exhale. Some of you look a little stressed right now. Like, I need you to relax. This is the good portion, right? If you could take a deep breath and just tell me where do you find joy? If it is in the work, that's fine. I know the gentleman on the end, that's what you're gonna say because you love your job, and I can tell that from your speech. But I want to know how you personally are finding time for joy to break away from burnout, to prevent burnout. That's what we'll call it, okay?
And I do want everyone to answer this question, but I need you all to do it 5 words. They are telling me look, they told me I told you I would do them with time. So 5 words or less. Well, give it 6 words. We can make it work, okay? We're starting. We're gonna make our way up.
Right now, I'm going to the gym a lot because that's how I can control my own body. It's my own kind of bodily autonomy. So that's bringing me a lot of joy lately.
Great.
Maybe not the right answer, but when I hear stories from trans people and parents of trans people who really value the work we're doing, that can fuel me for weeks to come.
6 words.
6 words. Yay. Food, drugs, gardening, more ways than one. I used to rest my words.
Joy, yeah, joy, prayer, quiet. What really fills me with joy, honestly, to just keep it a buck like I do, is meeting elders and that are excited to see me, doing the work. I know I'm not supposed to talk about the work, Angie, I'm sorry. But, elders really fuel like my drive. Because I also do it for those who have been doing it, who are tired, who are burnt out. I say it's hard, baby. And I love you. So, when they when I see an elder, that really fills me with joy and it pushes me to go harder and continue. So yeah.
Let me for redefining the vote.
Thank you all so much. Hold your round of applause. Thank you all so much for joining us, and thank you all for being here today. It really does mean a lot. I'm gonna turn it back over to beautiful MC. Let us take a picture real quick.
Let's please give them another round of applause. Lunch before everything shuts down, so y'all can eat. We're supposed to be back here at 12:40. Do we still want to stick with that time? All right, we're gonna come back 12:40.